I recently played through Mario 64 for the first time in my life, and assuming you read the title of this video, you should know how I feel about it. Now, don't get me wrong, Mario 64 was an amazing accomplishment for its time, truly paving the way for future 3D games to come. So then, why does the title say I don't like it if I just said it's an amazing game? Well, that's because it's an amazing game for its time. Let me explain. Super Mario 64 came out during 1996 and was one of the first truly three-dimensional games ever made. No one really knew how to structure a 3D game back then because up to this point everything was just in 2 dimensions. I obviously can't fault Mario 64 for not being as good as 3D games today because of the fact that, everyone was figuring out how to make a 3D video game back then, but that doesn't mean I can't criticize it as a video game itself. Many people say that Mario 64 is a timeless masterpiece, and I just simply disagree. While playing, I would constantly think about how it felt like a demo for the Nintendo 64. Pretty much all of the levels look and feel like they're testing rooms. Random shapes and textures just put together to make something, but not quite anything that really makes any sense. Test rooms are what they sound like. Rooms where video games are tested. And they normally just look like bland rooms with different geometrical shapes so developers can test character movement. Now, I don't quite think that this is a bad thing, it's just that instead of feeling like fully fleshed out levels, some areas in Mario 64 just feel like testing rooms with a very vague theme, like the sky for example, which is super noticeable when some of the stages have next to none of these weird platforms and shapes. And while we're on the topic of levels, many of the Mario 64 levels feel just blatantly repeated. For example, Cool Mountain and Snowman's Land feel like they took one level, cut it in half, and put both pieces in different locations in the hub world. And whoever made these levels deserves a life sentence. Another big problem I have with this game is the bosses. I know that it's a 3D platforming game, but it just felt like they didn't even try with some of these bosses. You can simplify every boss in this game as going behind someone, pressing B, and then pressing B again. Rinse and repeat. The boss of Lethal Lava Land is this guy named Big Bully. Okay, well, putting aside the fact that a metal ball with horns doesn't quite fit the lava hell theme, the fight was just spamming B until you hit him into the lava. And that's not even the worst part. A few levels later, in Snowman's Land, this exact same boss fight is repeated, except they made him look blue and took away one of his horns. That's literally all they changed. This theme of repeating things is done for so many of the stars, and I wonder why people don't talk about it. The 8 red coins on every stage, the whole concept of climb from point A to point B, opening chests in a certain order, talking to toads in the castle, it just all feels very samey after a while. There are plenty of cool stars, don't get me wrong. I love Koopa the Quick, even though it was repeated twice, and that Chain Chomp in Bob-omb Battlefield, as well as many others. But for me, it just felt like quantity over quality when it came to the stars. Now, I know that Mario Odyssey has a little bit of a quantity over quality problem too, but aside from that, the fact that there are so many moons to collect in Mario Odyssey means that there will be more interesting ones hidden in there. Camera controls. Camera controls are such an important part of video games that we don't even realize. If the camera is a bitch to use, then the game will be more frustrating. Mario 64 has the second most jank camera controls I have ever had to use while playing a video game. It feels like it's constantly working against you, always being just too far left or right to see where you actually need to go for a hard jump. Lucky 2 with the camera was an interesting choice, but it's understandable considering the time this game was made. Mario Galaxy always has the camera locked in the perfect position no matter what. And I know that Mario Galaxy's camera is totally different because of level design, but I just think that the camera in Mario 64 could have been done way differently. Where the camera issues are the worst for me is during the Bowser fights. In Mario 64, you fight Bowser 3 times, and beat him the same way every single time. You grab his tail, rotate the analog stick to spin him, and then you throw him at a bomb. The camera just never lined up to the bombs for me properly, and I ended up getting frustrated every time I had to throw Bowser. I will say though, the final fight against Bowser is pretty cool. He gets yassified and gets a rainbow color palette, and then we learn that Mario is homophobic. So long, Bowser. And then Bowser's all like, the stage would be so much sexier if I made it into a star shape, yes. And then, when he dies, he cries about world peace being restored. It really is a roller coaster of emotions. Overall, in my opinion, Mario 64 is mediocre. And I know the fact that I think that might make people upset, But if you really do like Mario 64, I have no problem with that. It's a super nostalgic game for a lot of people, and playing it felt like I was looking at caveman drawings. It wasn't pretty, or structured well, but it's interesting to see what people used to create when there was nothing else to reference. Anyways, with that all being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and hey, if you made it all the way through, make sure to like and subscribe. It really helps out a lot, and it means a lot to me. And as always, have a good day.